What?
Why won't you die?
Did you know that a young boy drowned the year before those two others were killed? The counselors weren't paying any attention. They were making love while that young boy drowned. His name was Jason.
Ah, here we are. The introduction of Jason Voorhees, proper. Not a dream, he's not in Alice's head. Well, he does get into Alice's head a little bit, but anyway, believe it or not, this film almost never happened. Sean S. Cunningham had considered turning the franchise into an anthology, similar to what Halloween 3 would later attempt, while Tom Savini ditched the production altogether in favor of The Burning, partially because he didn't quite get the logic behind adult Jason running around killing folks, and also he had another gig. However, the most financially lucrative gamble prevailed, and we wound up with a legend being born. Friday the 13th Part 2 is a great example of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, perhaps to an excessive degree. We get camp counselors prepping for the incoming summer, we get Crazy Ralph, albeit only briefly, and we get the heroine with the questionable relationship with her boss. This time it's just a little, sexier. Oh, and we get a killer on the loose dispatching with the aforementioned counselors, and the occasional cop or dog. The primary differences with this entry are an increased budget, which among other things allowed for the use of a Steadicam to increase production value, and a change in killer necessitated by Mrs. Voorhees, losing her head. And hey, it's a good change. While Mrs. Voorhees and her revenge are a great hook, they're really not enough to fuel a franchise. And frankly, the series needed a more exciting killer. And I'm not saying that women can't be exciting killers, it's just, she's an old lady. Come on. Also she has no head. Beyond that, Jason just made such a lasting impact at the end of the film. Really, that's why we have the franchise as it is, because the filmmakers decided that they should end with Jason coming up out of the lake in that dream sequence, which really could have very easily been ditched early in the process. People left the theater of that first film going, that was fucking scary. Did you see that fucking mongoloid kid? Came out of the water, attacked that chick. It was freaked me out, man. I'm assuming they all did drugs. I don't know. I wasn't alive. Jason, with his more anonymous look, demented psychology, and in this case, shocking reveal, was an immediate success. Even before he became an immortal monster, he was already a campfire legend in the minds of the characters, and therefore the audience, whose lasting memory from the previous film was his splashy debut.
Some folks claim they've even seen him right in this area.
Otherwise, the differences here are minute. More exposed flesh, bouncy nubile bodies, and perhaps just a dash more humor. The characters are slightly more, characters. The wheelchair-bound jock, the Kevin Bacon archetype, the scantily clad hottie, the practical Joker nerd, and of course Amy Steele's aspiring child psychologist, Ginny, who remains one of the strongest final girls in the entire franchise. There's one more big difference. Where Victor Miller's script for Part 1 basically had Adrienne King's Alice stumble into her final confrontation with Mrs. Voorhees, Part 2 screenplay written by Ron Kurz finds the perfect yin to Jason's yang by having the big confrontation utilize the child psychology angle, an angle that we would see perhaps perfected to some degree in Part 4. Ginny is not a physical match for Jason, but she's smart enough to use context clues and a little leap of logic to come damn close to defeating our besacked antagonist. There's also a playful cruelty in this script, more so than most entries, although it would certainly come back into play. After all, no pregnant chicks are killed in this movie. The death of Mark is the end-all be-all of cruel murders in the franchise, while poor Sandra is impaled while trapped under Jeff's body. Oh, and let's not forget handsome practical joker Scott, who's strung up and has his throat slit like a pig. Tons of cruelty in this film. And all the better for our introduction to one of cinema's most prolific killers. Of course, following in the tradition of its predecessor, Part 2 did find its own way to rip off previous horror films. The most obvious is 1976's The Town That Dreaded Sundown, from which this film very obviously lifts that killer's mask, or sack. It's really not a, I guess it's, I mean, it covers his face, it's a mask, right? Yeah. Now, I was going to talk about Mario Bava's A Bay of Blood in a lot of detail in this video. I think that that's better left to another video. That said, suffice it to say that Mario Bava's proto-slasher is certainly felt in this movie. And there are examples in Part 1 that kind of feel strangely close. I mean, just check out this sweater. But it's really in Part 2 where things get really close to litigious. Like, it seems obvious that the production team had to have some knowledge of Bava's 1971 film, since two of the kills bear an extreme resemblance. In fact, let's just, again, I think this will be better for a future video, but just take a look. Here's the famous impalement kill in Friday the 13th Part 2. Now here's the same kill in Mario Bava's film. Yeah. Now let's look at the aforementioned handy-capable murder from earlier in the film. Now let's take a look at Bava's film. Not as close, but still really close. Anyway, what makes Friday the 13th Part 2 special? Well, the obvious is that it's the introduction of Jason, but it's also a pretty universally accepted step up for the franchise, taking all of the elements from the original and simply employing them in a more refined fashion.
You didn't believe me. You're all doomed. You're all doomed.
It's an upgrade, and relatively speaking works as a sort of Terminator 2 for the series, which, I guess if I go any further with this analogy, then I'll have to start praising Terminator Salvation, so I'm just gonna stop right here. Swinging back around to Jason. While there's something to be said about his brutish, silent stalker brand, I don't necessarily think that he's quite there yet. Since the film posits his identity as a sort of mystery, even though we all know who the killer is, it's meant to be a bit of a surprise. We don't get much of the Jason that we would come to know and fear. In later entries, he's almost like a shark, just swimming around, murdering with just infinite bloodlust, an unstoppable locomotive. And in this one, he feels a lot more human. And I don't think he really will get to that point of unstoppability until Part 4, and even then, Part 6 is really where that takes off. Despite all that, I think it's safe to say that most people prefer Part 2 to the first film. It just looks and moves better, with the only glaring omission being that Tom Savini factor. His absence might be missed a little less if we could actually see the gruesome murders on display. Replacement makeup artist Carl Fullerton created some really nasty, hyper-violent scenes, even if they were lifted. But the MPA saw to it that much of the violence wound up, well, cut. Luckily, this Blu-ray does include some of those scenes, which we'll get to in a second, so let's move on to that section of our review. Last word on Friday the 13th Part 2, though. It's a lean, mean slasher machine that easily joins the original among essential slashers for even the most casual horror fans.
And if you listen to the old timers in town, they'll tell you he's still out there.
Hey, boo-boo. Where's that videotape? Doop-a-doop-a-doop. Part 2. Part 1. Bonus features. Yay. So, part 2. Let's take a look, first off, at what we get. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. It's a little uninspiring, I gotta say. But you know what? Whatever. This is one of those cases where, and you're going to see this a lot in this set, I really wish they had just commissioned a little bit more artwork. Like, they commissioned all this sweet artwork for the box. It looks beautiful. Like, the box is great. And I get that you're not going to be looking at these all the time. You're going to be looking at the box on your shelf. You're not going to have these just sitting around. But, like, if you're going to have alternate artwork on the inserts, just, you could pay for one more artist. Artists are cheap. They work for peanuts. We treat them very cruelly, and they're they accept it, and we just keep doing it. Just do it. Just exploit them. Exploit them like you're Sean Cunningham. Come on. Yeah, otherwise, just it's a disc in a case. It's fine. So as far as the extras that are listed, it lists new 4K scan from the original camera negative, which is dope as hell. You've been looking at the footage in this video. This is, of course, ripped to my computer. It goes through Handbrake. There is some compression involved on YouTube. Don't pixel peep the footage here, but I think you can tell just looking at it from afar that this footage is definitely superior to previous releases. Let's see. Inside Crystal Lake Memories, the book is an archive interview with author Peter Imbracki from Crystal Lake Memories. Quite a bit of talk about Friday's history, which we don't really need, but it's nice to hear Imbracki tell it, I guess, and he discusses the origins of his book, which is fine. It's 11 minutes. It's pretty non-essential, but if you like hearing him talk, I guess that's cool. Friday's Legacy Horror Conventions, that's another archive bit. That's interviews with several folks, including Ari Lehman, Tom Savini, and Harry Manfredini, about attending conventions and the draw of them. It's lightweight stuff, but I guess it's charming. The word I use so much nowadays. It's charming. You get a podcast interview with Amy Steele. Now, this is the one that they credit it as My Life and Ginny on the website, and I think that's the title of it on the actual Blu-ray. It's 33 minutes, and it's labeled as a new special feature, but it's a conversation that was had with Amy Steele for Justin Beam's podcast in 2016. So not really new, but whatever. Then we get a theatrical trailer, TV spots, radio spots, stills gallery.
Friday the 13th.
That's everything that's listed on the back of the case. In addition to these, and I find this interesting, like I look around and it doesn't say anything anywhere. Again, I think all of this was commissioned and printed well before they got all the special features together, because we get slashed scenes, which it doesn't even mention the fact that we get the deleted scenes. So slash scenes is 4 minutes of deleted scenes from I hate saying his name, Carl Fullerton. Carl Fullerton's personal VHS copy. There's no sound, but bro, this shit's fucking sick. And I'm not going to show any of it to you because you know what? You got to buy the thing. Okay, you got to buy the thing to see the footage. But I'll show you like bits of like around the footage that's just the stuff we've already seen to show you the quality of this tape. It's not amazing, but it's a perfectly good tape. It could be far worse. It looks like it would if you rented this on tape back in the day. It's not super grainy or anything. It's just the film on tape. The double impalement in particular is it's so great, and oh my god, it is such a shame that we're not able to see it in high def as part of this amazing 4K transfer. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. Fuck censorship so hard. Goddamn. Perhaps cooler, well, not cooler than that. That's pretty fucking dope. That's something we've wanted for years. But something that is also super cool is we get 2 commentaries. Now, part 2, a big problem for a lot of fans is we never had any commentaries for this fucking movie, and now we have 2. Presumably because no one's doing anything. Everybody's freaking out because of COVID. They're staying in their houses. Might as well do a Zoom chat and do a commentary for this movie they were in way too many years ago. We get an audio commentary with Amy Steele, filmmaker Thomas Hudson, and author Peter Imbracki. This is basically just an interview with Amy Steele that's also a commentary, and it's perfectly good. She's a charming woman, and does a good commentary. This one I only listened to chunks of, but she provided a lot of details, including her relationship with Adrienne King and, various production details. So, very good commentary. The one I listened to the entirety of, though, was a cast commentary which reunites several cast members from the film, and they have a great time talking. They have a great rapport. Some of the microphones are better quality than others. This was obviously recorded over Zoom or Skype or something. But it's a really, really fun commentary. A lot of details about the production, a lot of fun memories. And I just love, it's like listening to a group of friends getting together for a reunion after years of not seeing each other. So really solid. 2 commentaries. That's so cool. Like that right there, is a huge boost. This makes this one of the better releases in the set just because of that. And the kills. The kills are fucking sick. Beyond that, I did forget to mention for the first film, there's a Fangoria article that you can access via the Blu-ray on your PC. This one also has that. You can read a Fango article. The only other extra, it's another archive one that I totally just forgot to mention while I was going over this, is Lost Tales from Camp Blood Part 2. So this one's 9 minutes long, and it's another fan film, I guess. It really just comes off as a short film, unrelated, that has Friday the 13th music over it, I guess. In the first one, a couple are attacked in their house. In this one, a couple are attacked in the woods. I think what makes this so, kind of frustrating, not super frustrating, it's still whatever, it's just a short film that they put on the disc, who cares, is the killer's not even Jason, or at least it doesn't appear to be Jason. I haven't watched I'm watching them as I go through these. Who gives a shit? So I'm curious to see where it goes with 4 more parts, but jeepers, that is not very interesting. So that's Friday the 13th Part 2, and as I think I've gotten across, great film. Still not my favorite of the franchise. There's several above it, but nonetheless, really, really, really great film. I do think that the characters maybe not as relatable as the first film, but I do think they're very likable, even if their taste in underwear is questionable. It's a really solid film. It's a total ripoff. That's fine. It is a fun sequel that I will continue to revisit many, many, many more times. And yeah, I love it. It's really great, and I love this release. This is so far the best release of the entire set, and probably will remain. I haven't gone through every single extra on every single disc in detail, so that could change, but I'm pretty sure this is the best one. I'm pretty sure. So great stuff. Between this and the first, I think we've made the price of the set worthwhile, but we'll see as we go.
Wrong, white man.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I got on Part 2. Boop. Thank you so much for watching. This is going to get so monotonous. Fucking 11 more times. But check out my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, I guess. I use that sometimes, sure. And look me up on the Patreon. And of course, like this video. Fucking just pop up a cap in the back of the head of that bell icon thing. And subscribe. Yeah. Until next time, go watch a fucking movie.